pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May I have a roll call of supervisors, please? Thank you. All accounted for. At this time, we will move on to the presentation of the 2020 Kenosha County budget by County Executive Jim Kreuser.
Thank you, Chairman Esposito, Vice Chairman O'Day, members of the County Board, elected officials, distinguished guests, visitors, and of course, citizens of Kenosha County. Since last year's budget address, we've had another member of the County Board pass away, Supervisor Mike Gable. I was also notified last week, a former supervisor, Dave Holtz, passed away. Dave Holtz served 4 terms on the county board. He was then the head of the golf course, both golf courses, and was parks director for a short time before he moved back to his home in La Crosse with his wife and family and managed the golf course just below Grandad Bluff. So, in honor of both of them, I'd please join me in a moment of silence for our good friend Mike Gable and Dave Holtz. Thank you. I welcome Laura Belsky and Amy Maurer as new members of the County Board of Supervisors. Welcome to both of you, and these are certainly going to be exciting times. That Kenosha County has undergone a wholesale transformation since 2008 is undisputable. Our status as a leader in the state, the region, the nation, and some would say the international scene is unprecedented. This year's budget is about continuing our movement forward and making the necessary investment in our infrastructure, human capital, especially those who serve in our Sheriff's Department, and continuously increasing the quality and the ways we deliver our county services. Many of those services, as you know, are mandated. The role of county government is to do what you, your family, your friends can't do for themselves, and what is mandated by the state and federal government. Kenosha County spends tens of millions of dollars of state and federal money. We are the conduit in which those monies flow. One of the most important services people can't do for themselves is law enforcement. I'm glad to see some of Kenosha County's deputy sheriffs here tonight. Your jobs have become the most complex in the last decade, more than any other public sector job that I'm aware of. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for your passion to preserve and protect so that our citizens can sleep easy at night. Thank you. As I indicated in my State of the County address in May, this is significantly a law enforcement and infrastructure budget. This budget contains the contract settlement with the Deputy Sheriff's Association, our brave women and men who are there day and night for our county residents. As you all heard during the active shooter training from Supervisor Jeffrey Wambolt, who himself is a Kenosha police officer, our deputies run into buildings or difficult situations as the public runs out. The people with the shield put their lives on the line to keep us safe every day. I can tell you through thorough analysis, their wages have fallen behind. We've lost some well-trained deputies to other departments, and I urge your support of the reasonable and workable terms of our negotiated agreement. Some of you are wondering why I put this into the budget tonight. The reason is the financial impact. When we add in the necessary lift for command staff to guard against wage compression, it is nearly 1% of the overall proposed tax levy for 2020. This contract was unanimously approved by the Deputy Sheriff's Association and starts our new hires at a more competitive salary with a pay progression aiming to retain these fine men and women. It should be noted that it costs more than $80,000 to train a new hire before they can hit the road on their own. Over the past year, we lost about 3 trained deputies to other departments, and I need all of your help to help stop that from happening anymore. Dovetailing right into the law enforcement is communications. A robust, flexible, and expandable public safety communication system is critical to county fire, rescue, and law enforcement operations. This budget completes the simulcast project, which will strengthen communication capabilities throughout the entire county, especially the geographically challenged areas that the sheriff and the county fire agencies face in the west end and the east ends of our community. This system is the culmination of nearly 5 years' worth of work, partnering with our community's public safety agencies to develop, implement a cost-effective public safety communications backbone designed to accommodate our community's growth and also our growth well into the future. We're nearing the end of this project, and special thanks to Sheriff Dave Beth and Ray Arbit, the Public Works Director, and their teams on working on this significant public safety infrastructure project. Additionally, some extra dollars are included in this budget to boost training for the Kenosha County Fire Rescue Association for technical rescue, recovery, and hazardous materials incident mitigation services. The Western Kenosha County Fire and Rescue Departments do an excellent job in response to all of Kenosha County municipalities. This budget includes an increase for joint services in concurrence with city administration to keep pace with compensation needs. This is necessary to retain personnel because when people call or text 911, they just simply can't be put on hold. It's worth noting how cost-effective joint services is for the taxpayers. I want to thank Jeffrey Gentz and Monica Uhas for their service on the Joint Services Board and their commitment to our public safety. And on a side note, the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, was used by the sheriff for pursuing Racine police officer Hetland's shooter. There were multiple local, state, and federal agencies working in that center around the clock. The room configuration and ease of technology use effectively accommodated this complex, multi-agency investigation. As I was informed by several people that the FBI folks were particularly impressed with that facility. This is just another area where Kenosha County is leading the way and had the vision to put an up-to-date, sophisticated room like that at the EOC. This budget provides significant funds for county highway construction and resurfacing to keep us on pace with increased business development, especially in Bristol, Pleasant Prairie, and Summers. This budget continues to get us more caught up on our highway equipment needs, which ensures when Snowmageddon hits our community, Our emergency personnel and law enforcement can get out to where they need to be. In this budget, we're working on our long-range needs and plans here in our downtown campus. In the future, we know we're going to have another judge or two. District Attorney Michael Gravely, I think I saw him tonight, has recently been granted an additional assistant district attorney by the state of Wisconsin. He could use probably several given the uptake in his workload recently. This budget addresses his tight quarters and will improve working conditions in his area. In recognition of the high caseload for our victim witness staff, this budget we are proposing the addition of a victim witness specialist. This position will help provide much needed advocacy for children in need of protective services, will work on child sex trafficking cases, and will take on the restitution and diversion programs that have been shed by the state of Wisconsin. We're also proposing in this budget some one-time funds to speed up the processing of cases that will get children ready for adoption in permanent, loving homes. Costs for juvenile corrections and local juvenile intake are increasing. The state-mandated daily rate for juvenile corrections went up from $397 to $532 a day, or an estimated increase of almost $205,000 for 2020. Be aware, additional costs will be foisted upon our county as the new regional detention center facility starts construction in a few years up in Racine. The local cost of juvenile intake is increasing next year because Racine County is increasing the daily rate from $150 to $175 a day. And the judicial system has been increasing the overall length of stay of juveniles. For residential treatment centers for juveniles, the rate is increasing from $380 to $490 a day, with an increase of a number of days for an estimated increase of $500,000 in 2020. The overall state increase for different types of foster care is up 4%. Along with the increased number of days they estimate, an increase of $446,000 in 2020. And I'm sure you're all aware that these institutional costs are out of our local control. While we are successful with our great prevention programs and early intervention programs, and we're keeping our costs down, much is driven by the state of Wisconsin and the judicial system. Turning to our judicial system, we're looking at an in-depth look at their historic ceremonial courtroom this year. Restoration of that gem is not in the budget for 2020. However, we have proposed an amount to do some work that'll get us dialed in on the exact expectations for a proper restoration. Once we get that dialed in, that will bring the overall bids down on a construction project because they'll know what they're looking at and the quality of work will be going over. Public Works will go over that and detail the metrics of that. I've explained this to the judges, and there's a letter on your desk supporting taking a look at this additional work. This gives us also additional time to secure outside grants and donations for this project, which I'm confident we can do with a number of the foundations that like restoration projects of this type in this era. Kenosha County is blessed with an outstanding park system, but what Kenosha County is lacking is a place to honor all of our county veterans. This budget is requesting a call to action to finally name KD Park the Kenosha County Veterans Memorial Park. The Kenosha County Veterans Memorial Park will stand as a tribute for service and sacrifices of those who are serving or who have served. A place does not exist where all Kenosha County veterans are remembered and memorialized. This park, as you recall, was a shuttered gravel pit until 2008. But with strong advocacy from many of you and Supervisor Dennis Elverman, the park was finally open to the public. and we have improved that park every year. This budget recommends that an official ad hoc committee of 9 to 12 people be formed to draft recommendation to the county executive for implementation in conjunction with the Public Works Committee and this board to recognize and maintain the passive park setting, yet remembering those who served from Kenosha County. It is important to memorialize the combat wars, actions, and conflicts in a complementary way with the serene natural sanctuary of the current Katy Park. The sustainable nature of the park is in harmony with how our veterans have sustained our nation. Kenosha County is rich in military heritage, and our public is very proud of the many sacrifices our veterans have made for Wisconsin and our nation. This budget provides $150,000 to launch the Kenosha County Veterans Memorial Park. I know our community leaders and businesses will make Kenosha County Veterans Memorial Park possible through their commitment and donations, because it's the right thing to do, is to honor our military veterans' sacrifices and to remember those who have gone before us. In support of this park, you will be taking the first step toward a permanent and sustaining thank you to the many men and women who have worn the uniform that symbolizes freedom around the world. But most important, you'll be honoring their sacrifices so that they will never be forgotten. This budget continues the work on the south and north branches of the Pike River. This is a critical environmental, long-term project that will enrich this resource for generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, we are in one of the hottest economic development corridors in the nation. Bristol, Pleasant Prairie, and Summers are key hotspots for new developments, and we continue to assist them with their economic growth. We must recognize, address, and plan for the necessary supportive infrastructure needs. This budget keeps us on track as a AA+ county, working and striving for a AAA rating. Our per capita income rose from 2016 to 2017, and 2018 is expected to be higher than 2017. This is terrific news for Kenosha County. Our job growth from 2013 to 2018 was the highest in the state at 24.4%. Our overall long-term obligations has dropped by almost $70 million from $216 million in 2008 when I took office to $146 million in 2019. We are extremely responsible with our borrowing. 82% of our principal retired in 10 years or less. Standard & Poor's called it a positive credit factor, and Fitch concurred with their comments. Our general reserve is trending at $8 million over the county board minimum. This budget addresses our current and future infrastructure needs as laid out in our CIP that accompanies the budget. This budget makes changes to our employee health insurance in response to some of our county board supervisors and the continuously rising health care costs. And this budget provides and makes an overall market adjustment for employees to ensure we are keeping pace with our very competitive job market. This budget continues to work with every municipality within our borders to look for efficiencies and what will be needed as our community continues to grow. This budget works with our school systems to assist our children through our summer at-risk youth work program and also continued support of the Building Our Future program. This budget continues the 7th year in a row of budgeting well below our percentage of growth as shown by this chart. This budget continues to be well below the amount of growth by almost 5%. This budget assures law enforcement the ability to serve and protect our community better going forward. This budget provides the necessary public safety infrastructure our protective services need, what our businesses want, and what the public expects. This budget positions our most vulnerable to get the services they need and helps assist job seekers to seize career opportunities opening up all around them. And finally, this budget is fiscally responsible and carefully crafted to sustain the momentum that has made Kenosha County in a category of its own, and the best is yet to come. Ladies and gentlemen of the County Board, I look forward to working with all of you on this proposed 2020 budget for our county. May God bless America, and may God bless Kenosha County.
We'll take a minute and make sure all the county budget books are passed out. I want to thank County Executive Kreuser for the 2020 budget. I also would like to thank all the men and women of law enforcement as I speak for all the county board supervisors. We do appreciate all your hard work. I also want to thank the department and division heads of Kenosha County for all the hard work they put in, as well as every employee that works for Kenosha County. The County Board of Supervisors understand and appreciate all the hard work that you do day in and day out. Thank you. Does every supervisor have their budgetary items? If not, please raise your hand. Even for you, Supervisor Gantz. All right, thank you. Moving on, we're going to move on to citizens' comments. Any citizens wishing to speak, you have 5 minutes. State your name and address for the record.
Jack Rose, 4315 68th Street, Kenosha 53142. Also Alderman, 15th District for the City Council. Mr. Chairman, members of the County Board, thank you for this opportunity to be with you again. As you all may know, the National Alliance on Mental Illness is here to improve the quality of life for people living with mental illness in our community. And we do this through advocacy, support, and education. I would like to thank you very much for all your support through the years with respect to the Human Services budget. This is where the rubber meets the road. This pays for some of the treatment, the support which people living with mental illness need in our community, and by supporting the Kenosha Human Development Services. We as a community, through the efforts of the county and the city, have created the Crisis Prevention Center. And initially, thanks to your funding, it was initially set up with, built out for 16 beds, staffed for 11, and as of last year, we're staffed for the full 16. So thank you very much for that. And just to let you know, last month, the care center had 100 folks that were taken care of in that facility in that 1 month. That's an all-time high. And if you recall, last year we did a study where we tried to hold people until we could get a voluntary bed And that 1 month hold allowed the county to save $42,000. And that does not include the transport cost of getting somebody to Winnebago or to some of the other facilities that we use, since we have no psychiatric unit in Kenosha. And that's something I think we all need to remember, and we all need to continue to try to work on. One thing that you've done is expand the Bridges Community Center. This is a real diamond in the rough that came out from an audit about 4 years ago now. And it's a recovery center for adults. They provide support, and it's been very effective. Through your efforts, we have allowed that facility to be open on Saturday as well. And as you know, mental illness does not just occur Monday through Friday. So thank you very much for that. As a member of the treatment court, which once again I think we're blessed to have in our community, I've shared with you on many times the difference in cost between a diversion program or a treatment court or incarceration. And plus, it provides treatment for the person living with the mental illness. And so recently now, the Kenosha County is applying for a $5,000 TAD grant, and NAMI Kenosha will provide in-kind support for that, or a portion thereof. I think the collaborative effort, and for the law enforcement, for the sheriff department here in Kenosha, NAMI will continue to provide crisis intervention team training. And this is a 5-day course that is provided at no cost to the law enforcement agencies, and we try to give the law enforcement officers a better toolkit to deal with those in mental health crisis. And it works, and we will continue to do it. To date, I think we've trained over 288 law enforcement in our county since 2010. And it's at no cost. I know it's a cost to the agencies to pull somebody off the road for 5 days. But as far as the cost of the training, there is none. One other thing I think you've heard me say up here, we continually talk about the lack of psychiatrists. So a couple of years ago, we talked about, well, let's build our own. Let's grow our own. And I'd like to share with you this evening that we have one of the first recipients of the Martha Hollowell scholarships that goes back about 2 years ago, who has just received his master's in nursing from Marquette University, which has a shop right here in Kenosha, out in Pleasant Prairie. That person just signed on with Kenosha Human Development Services as a nurse, and he will be certified as an advanced practice nurse practitioner coming up December of 2020. So it's only one, but it just goes to show you what we can do as a community when we step up. Once again, please support the mental health and substance abuse portion of the Human Services budget. And again, thank you so much for all your support during the years. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Any other citizens' comments? Please state your name and address for the record. You all have 5 minutes.
Yeah, my name's Todd Battle. I live at 1613 36th Avenue in Kenosha. I'm also the president of the Kenosha Area Business Alliance. Just wanted to come here tonight and first of all say thank you for your continued support in the county budget process in terms of your support of economic development. It's very much appreciated. I think the partnership that the Kenosha Area Business Alliance and the county have had around economic development has proven to be extremely successful. Would also just like to continue to applaud the county for its approach to fiscal management. We've been fortunate over the last several years to be part of the team that goes to the rating agencies and presents about the state of fiscal health in Kenosha County and obtains the ratings. And I just think the approach has been really good. The county consistently gets high marks for its fiscal management, and it consistently gets high marks for its forward thinking and innovativeness around supporting the community and its growth. So just want to continue to encourage the county to continue that approach. We've got a lot of growth going on in the community, and as the county exec talked about, there's a lot of investments to make in terms of supporting that growth. I think Kenosha County, in the time that I've been here, has really benefited from a forward-looking approach and making some really strong investments in its infrastructure. It's been a competitive advantage for us that has kept us ahead of peer communities and has put us in a good position. So I know you guys have a tough job to do in terms of being fiscally responsible with your budget and making some of these strategic investments, but I just want to thank you for your past support and encourage you to continue showing the leadership that you do in terms of investing in our community and putting us on that path for growth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Battle. Any other citizens' comments? Any other citizens' comments? Citizens' comments? Seeing none, citizens' comments are closed. Moving on, announcements of the chairman, I have a few. I'd like to welcome Charlotte Martin from the Judiciary and Law Committee, from the Youth and Governance tonight. Welcome. Thanks for being here. I also want to talk to supervisors about the Red Cross. American Red Cross has reached out to me in regards to, you can sign up for free smoke alarms on October 12th. Trained volunteers from the Red Cross and the Kenosha Fire Department and Journey Church will install these smoke alarms in homes across Kenosha. Again, it's October 12th. If you want to volunteer, you can RSVP by October 10th. This email was forwarded to all supervisors. With that, I want to talk about the budget a little bit. I want to remind all supervisors within the front pocket of your printed 2020 county budget book, there's a detailed budget hearing schedule the week of October 21st through October 24th, and the county 2020 budget first reading and the budget adoption meeting nights of Tuesday, November 5th and Wednesday, November 6th. I know there was a little bit of mix-up with that, but it's going to be Tuesday, November 5th and Wednesday, November 6th, and we do start a little bit earlier those nights, so please check your schedule. Also, I want to advise all county board supervisors to look at the inquiry form inside your budget books to be used by county board supervisors in requesting information on the 2020 budget after tonight's meeting. I want to remind all supervisors, just because you're not on a committee doesn't mean you cannot go to that committee during the budget process and ask questions. I ask all supervisors to reach out to the committee chairs if you have questions. I would like to see every county board supervisor at the Finance Administration Committee during the night of the week of the budgetary process. So please ask questions. Let's do our heavy lifting in the committees so we can move forward in a positive direction in this year's budget. And that's all I have. We'll move on to supervisor reports. Supervisor Gray, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a few reports and comments, primarily dealing with the budgetary process and the budgetary concerns for human services. If I could ask all the supervisors to turn to page 29 in your budget book, if you have just a moment to do that. So we're looking at the bottom of page 29, and you can see that there is a pie chart there. And the yellow portion, which represents human services, has a disproportionately large section of that pie chart, 61.59%. It's entitled non-levy funding by department, which means it's not paid exclusively out of Kenosha County taxpayers' pockets. It largely comes from state and federal sources. In fact, I had a conversation with administration just before this meeting, and it's actually 83% comes from the state and fed. So it's still your tax money because it's being paid in somewhere. The Fed gives us some money back, state gives us some money back, but it's still money coming back to Kenosha County. It has to be spent wisely. So when we take a look at this huge, huge section of the budget, we're going to have our meeting detailing this October 16th, at the Job Center, South Sheridan Road. There'll be food at 5 p.m., the meeting's at 5:30. And the administration will be presenting their intentions, their plans for 2020. And I certainly would encourage everyone in this room to attend if you are able. I have also asked the administration to pay particular attention to mental health aspects of the 2020 budget and to make some type of remarks or comments upon how that's going to play out for this upcoming fiscal year. So this, in a nutshell, is one particular part of the Kenosha County budget. But for those who are familiar with the budget process, really it has a three-phase approach. You have the administration presenting to each particular committee. That's what's going to happen in our situation on October 16th. And it happens to all the committees. It'll happen to Public Works. It'll happen to all the different entities out there. And the individual committee has to, as a whole, approve that budgetary process. They have to say as a committee, we were in favor of that. Then during the hearings before the Finance Committee, again, there's another round of discussion, presentation, and that's kind of like the second go-around. The final part for the adoption, when we meet back in this room and adopt the budget, is kind of like the end point. But as Supervisor Esposito noted, Chairman Esposito noted, the heavy lifting is done in these first two go-arounds. So if you really have an interest, if you really want to have input, you have modifications, these are the time to bring these forward. If you're looking at Public Works and you think, well, they don't need a particular piece of equipment, they have enough, bring it up. If you're looking at enforcement, you're saying, well, maybe we have enough full-time equivalents, we don't need that many, this is when you bring it up. If you look at finance and you say, well, maybe our bonding is a little bit aggressive, maybe we don't have to have the type of bonding we really are going forward, bring it up at that point. But please, let's do our lifting in committee, let's go through the process. If you have suggestions, make them, not on the board, floor, on the final evening. Those are my comments, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Grady. Supervisor Alverman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to inform everyone when Public Works would be looking at the Public Works budget and making adjustments if needed. That will be on Monday, October 14th at the Kenosha County Center, 6:30 p.m.
That's it?
That's it.
Thank you. Supervisor Rodriguez, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On September 18th, the Kenosha Sheriff's Department had a pursuit of a vehicle that went through, I'm not sure where it started. I know it went through Summers, the city of Kenosha, and I believe it ended in Racine. It is to my knowledge that the driver of the vehicle was not going much faster than 30 miles an hour. At times, I know he was going 12 miles an hour, and it took about an hour, if not more, to apprehend the suspect. The next day, I reached out to the Sheriff's Department asking for a synopsis of what exactly happened, or a report of which. Within 13 days, I hadn't heard anything. I reached back out to the Sheriff's Department, and they told me, and I reached out after there was another pursuit that started in Kenosha, ended in Racine. That was on the 22nd of September. The next day, the Journal-Times had a story and a detailed timeline about what happened. So after reading that story, I reached back out to the Sheriff's Department and was essentially told to jump through hoops and go through the channels to get this report. As a member of the county board, and more importantly, a member of the Judiciary and Law Committee, it's my job and all of our jobs here to oversee the Sheriff's Department and oversee what exactly they're doing and how they do it. Joint Services charged me $1.04, which is not the end of the world, I don't think, to anybody in this room. But I'm trying to do my job here, and I don't think I should be made to jump through hoops and be nickeled and dimed to do that job. I was told by Joint Services that my records were ready yesterday. I went there today. They were not to be found. They may have been sent to the clerk. The clerk has no records of them yet. And so I'm a little irritated with this whole process, especially knowing that that a media outlet can get this, and that's their right. They're doing what they should be doing. But they can get a report for a pursuit one day after it happens, and now I'm, half a month later, and I still don't have these records. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Rodriguez. Supervisor Boyd Furtick, you have the floor.
Just letting everyone know, the judiciary in law will be October 10th, and we'll be starting at 5 p.m., which I know is a little bit early, but we're doing it because finance is the same evening.
Okay, everybody make sure they understand that change in time for judiciary and law. Any other supervisor reports? Seeing none, we'll move on. County Clerk.
Ordinance 5, second reading to required. From the Public Works Facilities Committee, an ordinance to enact a four-way stop at the intersection of County Truck Highway EA and County Truck Highway A in the Village of Summers. Elverman, yes. Franco, yes. Skalitsky, yes. Gashke, yes. Nordigan, yes. Poole, excused. Uhas, yes.
Thank you, Supervisor Alverman. You have the floor.
I would move the ordinance, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I have a motion by Supervisor Alverman, a second by Supervisor Franco. Supervisor Alverman.
Thank you. This is a intersection in the Village of Summers. No, the village, not the town of Summers. And sure? I'm positive. All right. We are asking you to adopt this. Prior to 2019, none of the warrants were met for a four-way stop at this intersection. 2019, traffic was detoured through this area, most of it construction traffic. 9 crashes were recorded in the first 7 months of 2019. All 9 crashes were caused by failing to yield. I could go on, but it now meets numerous warrants for a four-way stop. What this ordinance is asking is for you to approve it, and it will be revisited in 2025 when we are, or if prior to that, construction in that area decreases, but part of this would be revisiting in 2025 to see if it was still warranted.
Thank you, Supervisor Alverman. We have some discussion. Supervisor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair, he's not, oh yeah, he is here. To the Director of Public Works, are these signs installed already?
Clement, can you come and stand up at the podium, please? Thank you.
Yes, the signs have been installed, but they are covered.
Okay, I don't know who can answer my next question. I've got no issue with this resolution in front of us tonight, and I suspect it will pass, but I don't know why we're installing things before the board votes on it and passes it, why we're spending manpower and tax dollars on doing things like this. I'm still going to support it, but I don't think that's the way we should be doing things. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Rodriguez. Supervisor Nudo. Thank you, Clement.
Well, pretty much I have the same problems. If we did not vote on it, who is to say that this resolution is going to pass? And why did they install it and then we get the resolution? I think we're doing backwards. As much as we need the stop signs there, I don't believe it's fair to do it. Okay. To everybody on the board, I don't think it's fair to be treated in that way.
I understand your concern. Clement, do you have something that you can add to this? Thank you.
The installation of the sign was actually my fault. I assumed that it was passed last time the board discussed it, and as a matter of fact, the Director of Public Works brought it to my attention, and when I realized my mistake, I realized that the best way to do it was to cover it and wait for today.
Sure.
And if it's not passed, then I'm going to remove them. But again, that was just a mistake, an oversight on my part.
Right. I thank you for coming forward. Appreciate it. Supervisors, does that answer your question? You're good with that? Any other discussion, Supervisor Nudo?
That's fine.
Okay. Seeing no other discussion, all those in favor of this ordinance say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ordinance passes.
Communications 22 from the Finance Administration Committee regarding Human Resources Ordinance, Civil Service Ordinance change.
Refer to Finance Administration Committee.
23, communication from the Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee regarding resolution WISDOT Bureau of Transportation Safety Bots Alcohol Enforcement Grant 2019-2020.
Refer to Judiciary and Law Committee.
24, communication from the Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee regarding resolution recognizing surplus inmate phone revenue to fund various operating expenditure budgets in the Sheriff's Department budget.
Refer to Judiciary and Law Committee.
25, communication from the Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee regarding ordinance moratorium on adult entertainment establishments pending review.
Refer to the PDEC Committee.
Claims, Emily Lederman, vehicle damage and personal injury.
Refer to Corporation Council.
Approval of the September 17, 2019 County Board meeting minutes by Supervisor Ron Frederick.
Supervisor Frederick, you have the floor.
Move approval of the September 17, 2019 board meeting.
Thank you. I have a motion by Supervisor Frederick and a second by Supervisor Kavicki. All those in favor say aye. Aye. I have a motion to adjourn. I have a motion by Supervisor Nudo and a second by Supervisor Rodriguez. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
So the Brewers are winning.